Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Please take this is your med check reminder for this beautiful True Crime Thursday. Take your medication. Also, I won my dispute against the person who tried to copyright claim my outro. In fact, I think they dropped the dispute because if they hadn't have been, I'd have been contacting YouTube directly because you know their automated service how it works. I shouldn't even had to technically dispute that. I should have been able to do more against that because technically that was a false claim. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it could have been their automated service that hit me. I'm not sure. Sometimes the automated service will hit you for no apparent reason. Just because they can detect, like, I've gotten the ability to hit other people's channels and I've ignored it because we both covered the same topic. You know what I'm saying? And they played the news things just like I did, you know what I'm saying, from the true crime sector. And I ignored it because they weren't playing my content. It's just because we had very similar content. The automated service does that, you know? Sometimes the automated service does that. Okay, so today we're going to do some updates on some of the cases that we had been looking at for the last few weeks or so. I have it set up to where we're going to see they don't have a whole lot of new details on the sheriff who shot the judge. Um, Obviously, the trial has not started. I don't know if they're going to publicize this trial or not. They have not came up with a date to tell us when the trial is going to happen. The only thing we've heard from that specific thing, which is um, basically this happened on September 19th of last year, you know, and they've not literally updated hardly anything. We had the preliminary hearing. We haven't had they haven't set up a trial date yet that I know of. I'm still looking for the trial date. But somebody was asking me, L Blue yesterday was asking me over there at VS's about, am I going to cover more of it? Yes. As soon as um, they come out with more information, I'm going to keep y'all updated on that case. I like to, when I start a case, finish out a case, right? Also, the case of I think that was also in Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the woman who boiled her mom in a pot. Um, what was her name? I know her name. I gotta look it up right quick. Um, yes, that was also in Kentucky. Um, they have not. I don't think they've put anything else. Her name was Torlini Fields. They have not. I do have. I'm going to look up this right here, and we're going to read over it. But I don't see that they have her a trial date set yet. She. I know that her bond was set at 1.5 mil. And this happened in October. So here's the thing about court systems: we can look up the preliminary hearings. Some of them, hey boo, blues boom boom room, hey beautiful. Is that my sad and blue girl? I've been missing you. Okay, I just had to say that. I've been missing you. I've been missing you know. I don't know what had happened was let me make sure that is my sad and blue. I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, that show is. That is my baby girl. Uh-huh. Girl, I don't know what happened over there in the Mo3 sector. I ain't know what had happened with you and why I ain't seen you around. Um, I miss you so much. It's okay. Okay. I just had to get that out there. I know see, the thing is I know your picture. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, Daddy is hurt. Oh my God, I miss her so much. I ain't seen you in so long. Is you and Woo still cool? Cause I ain't I don't know about that. I don't want to know the whole backstory, unless you want to tell me, because I don't know what had happened over there. I've been missing everything in that sector. Now, I heard about DG going to jail because supposedly he put his hands on Eve. I don't know if. Good morning, my beautiful VS. Thank you, love. Always. VS, you've done so much for me, love. I just got to always give you your flowers. Always. You deserve your flowers, beautiful. Hey, room shaker, shaker, shaker. So, the only way I've been keeping up with the Mo 3 sector is because of Shaker, Shaker, Shaker. If Shaker didn't tell me about it, I didn't know about it. Right? Because I've been missing so much over there. I've been so busy over here. I've been missing so much in other sectors. I need to get around more, but it comes to a point. I know y'all all know this. When you're trying to keep up with 20, 30, 40, 50 people and everybody go live at the same time, it's kind of hard to do so, you know. Also, if y'all didn't catch VS's interview she did yesterday, y'all should catch the replay. She interviewed a lady from the T sector called Queen Quality TV. Everybody calls her name Miss Sammy. She did a live, a thing about that. Hey, Roasty Toasty, I've been missing. I got to get over there. I got to get over there and see what room y'all hanging out in now, Roasty and Boom Boom Room. I ain't been over there to the Mo 3 sector in a minute because I've been so busy trying to keep up with everything, and then my mama been sick, and then the holidays and everything. So I got to get back on my grind, y'all. I got to get back on my grind. Y'all know I try to keep up with everything. But I heard DG went to jail over the fact that he was putting hands on Eve. I think I've heard Eve on a link before, but I do not remember what she looked like or nothing like that. Because the last time I heard about somebody putting their hands on somebody was Polar. What not Polar? What was his name? Shit. It was the one where Brandon Captain ended up sleeping with the lady after she left him. Shoot, what was her name? And his name. Why am I forgetting their names? Damn. Damn. I'm always forgetting names. Shit. I don't forgot. All I know is the one dude and the chick got into it. She supposedly left him, and then supposedly that they fought. Sapphire and Ratchet. Thank you, Roasted Toast. Why was their names not coming to my mind? That's the last time I heard about some DV over there was Ratchet and Sapphire and whatnot. And then I also heard that Queen 88 and SD back together again. And I'm like, no. Y'all know better than this. You don't mess with an ex. Everybody knows you don't go around messing with exes. You don't do that. But yeah, I was talking about the last thing I remember hearing the big story of there was when Ratchet and Sapphire got into it, whatnot, and then Sapphire slept with Brandon, and then after that they had the STD gate with Brandon, and it was just a bunch of mess. And then all of a sudden I hear DG going to jail. I heard, a lot of people into it over there, and I just been missing all of it. So I swear, I be missing so much sometimes. It's sometimes a little too much to keep up with. You know what I'm saying? Like Roasted Toast, I'm betting you know everything that happens up in the Mo 3 sector, but it's hard for you to keep up with the beef sector. So, you know what I'm saying? Because that's your sector, right? So it's easy to keep up with your sector. And then because there's so much going on, sometimes you miss things that happen. Now, I heard Castro Cannon and Tommy, and from this sector, from beef sector, that they got into a physical altercation. There's DV happening over here too. And that ZT, King Zero Tolerance, egged it on and made it worse. And then I heard, and I want to give a shout out to Shamar Sledge, because that's who they was talking about. Because she just called him Shamar. I know exactly the only Shamar I know, and the only Shamar that's in these sectors that's amazing and that is an awesome person is Shamar Sledge. I call him my favorite pastor. Now he calls his people the safe haven. He got up there and he calmed them down because they had been drinking and all this other stuff. And I could see Shamar Sledge talking about that. I could see him helping somebody out. Good morning, my Ray. Now, I will say that I believe we need to have a conversation about domestic violence. It's not cool. It's not okay. And I would like for one of our, LGBTQ friendly people, more so the men in this sector, the LGBTQ, preferably mother. I'm gonna go ahead and put the name out there. Treasure Lane, if you listen to this, I would love for you to do a live about domestic violence within the gay community and how rampant it is. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm curious to note, and even in the lesbian community, my lesbians can chime in on this. How bad is the DV versus, I mean, we all know about straight couples have DV, right? But like, is it worse in the gay community or is it worse in the lesbian community? Like, what do y'all think? Are they about the same? You know what I'm saying? Because it could be just about the same. But do you think maybe possibly that within the gay community, it could be swept under the rug more or not talked about as much? Is that a possibility? Like, I would like to learn more about it and hear it from people who are in the community, obviously. And I believe that would be a great conversation to have. I would love to see a lot of our peoples get together and talk about it. Have you experienced it or have you seen it in a friend? Now, me, myself, and I consider myself heterosexual. I consider myself, well, Jay Dunn, you could host that shit, girl. You could host that shit. The only reason I of all the gay men in this sector, right? Wouldn't he be the best one to host something like that for the gay men? It would be either him or Jay Wilson, if you think about it, right? So, but like, I would like to hear more from the gay community about domestic violence. Like, I know in the heterosexual world, we have it, it's rampant, right? But it is more publicized, right? I want to, like, a lot of it is there specific reasons? Like in the hetero world, it's usually because the dude accuses the chick of cheating or vice versa. Usually over here, it's when it's a straight couple, it's because one or the other party, they're both drinkers or they're just a violent person. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I did. Thank you, Jay Dizzle. KRN. He would be a good one. I didn't think about that. I don't know why that slipped my mind, Jay Dizzle. Thank you so much. Because that did slip my mind. KRN, if you watching You in the Clouds or somebody can get this word to you, that might be a really great topic for a live that you could host. And possibly have people to come over and talk about. Because this has been running rampant in all sectors, in my opinion. DV has been a situation that we have heard about how many handfuls of times that we've heard it being a huge thing, within our own, like, people we actually know, right? And seeing this happen. We saw the ZT and his partner get into it, right? We saw the situation with and I've heard about at least 2 instances with King Castro and his partner, and I don't even know Mr. Castro like that. I don't know if I've even watched his channel, to tell you the goddamn truth. I need to go over there and subscribe. But this isn't the first time that I've heard this run rampant in the sectors, right? And I would love to see different opinions on it and people who may have known someone or has a personal experience with it. Because I don't think it's talked about enough, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's swept under the rug a lot. And I think that educational wise, people need to know how to do it. That's true, Jay Dizzle. KRN said that Castro's a part of the crew. So Castro might be open to join KRN for that discussion also. True. KRN, if you're listening or any of the crew is listening and y'all hear this, can y'all get it back to him like, I think it would be a very good live if he, raised the domestic violence questions, because, we all need to talk about it and not sweep it under the rug. And we need to realize what the implications of that is. Do you know how many people, when I'm looking up these true crime things, right? And I'm looking up these cases online, do you know how many of them start out as DV cases, or breaking up with somebody from DV? And how many of these cases are from that? Like, literally, look at us, the Sarah Boone case, right? They were both toxic to each other and abusive to each other. That was a DV situation. And it ain't just one party sometimes. Sometimes in a DV situation, it's both parties. Sometimes it's toxic on both sides. It's not just one or the other. And that's why also I do not pass judgment, because I don't live in their home, right? I don't live with them. So I don't know who did what to whom, do you know what I'm saying? Because the reason I say I don't pass judgment on a DV situation is say one person's the victim and the other person is not, because I have seen time and time again, you think one person's the victim and they're actually the abuser. I have also seen it not just be one abuser, that both people are abusive to each other. Sometimes a toxic relationship seems like it's the best thing in the world, and then come to find out it's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. Toxic situations happen quite often, and abuse can come in many different forms, right? Abuse can come in the fact of verbal, physical, financial. A lot of people also overlook, financial, you know, abuse. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't make, when they accused Johnny Depp of that with Amber Heard, I didn't make in my mind who was guilty and who was not guilty. I didn't say, oh, Johnny Depp, no, I wanted to hear evidence, because people can lie. And classic example, everybody thought that at first, before the trial came out, that Amber Heard was 100% in the right and she didn't do anything wrong and she was not abusive. Come to find out, she was the actual abuser. That's a great example, James. That's a great example, babe. The Johnny Depp, you know what I'm saying? So, that's why I say that when it comes to that, you can't say one person's the abuser and one's the not, because you really don't know if you don't live in the home, or you're not around them every single day. You're not in there. There was this case. I wish I could find this case again. It was actually, there was this big old dude, and I mean, this guy was like big. It was a clip I saw. It might have been actually from a TV show, but this dude was a big old dude. He was like 6'5", 400 pounds. I mean, big dude, right? And there was this little bitty girl that he was with, and she was like 5'1", maybe 100 pounds, sopping wet, right? They thought, because they heard they had got a call for domestic violence, and they thought he was the abuser. Come to find out, no, she was. They got a call again back to the residence, and this girl had stabbed him in the throat. And she was abusing the crap out of him when they walked in, and they had to eat crow because they thought he was the abuser when he was not. He was a big teddy bear, and he didn't want to put his hands on her and didn't know how to deal with it. He allowed her to abuse him because he didn't know what to do about it. He loved her so much. And that's another thing. A lot of men deny abuse and or act like it don't happen, because there's a lot of things that go into that. When it comes to, well, I'm a man, a woman can't abuse me, or that's what they say, or the police will say a woman can't abuse man. That's bull crap. Anybody can be abusive to anybody, right? Abuse comes in a lot of different forms, as I've stated. It's not just physical. And I wonder how many people that we don't see or don't know that may be going through it, right? People we don't know, because just because you don't see a physical mark doesn't mean they're not being abused. Because mental abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse, those are things you may not be able to see. And I do believe that DV needs to be spoken about more. Um, yeah, a lot of men think that it's normalized for them, and that's really sad to me because no one should have to deal with that. Now, I am going to show y'all what information I did find on the shot. I shot the judge, but I didn't shoot the deputy. I changed the words a little bit because the sheriff dropped. The sheriff shot the judge, but he did it in self-defense. At least that's what he says. Okay, so we're gonna actually, he says he did it because it was a heat of the crime moment. We're gonna look at this right quick. Let me put up my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under the section of 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay, so basically we're going to be using this for news reporting and scholarship. Okay, and we're also going to be using it for commentary and criticism. And we're doing research because we're researching true crime topics. So technically, it completely falls under fair use of what we're doing. I'm going to present screen now, and I'm going to share the new updates on the Kentucky Sheriff and the information that we found so far. And then we're going to also switch over to two new cases we're going to be looking into. One of them is halfway in. It is the NH versus Victor Rivera, the bad breakup trial. Newasha, New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. That's where that story is coming out of. And then we have another one over here. And it is the preliminary hearing underway in the Naziah Harris murder case. And I hope that I said her name correctly, but I think it is Naziah. And Jarvis Butts was the man. She was 13 years old while he was 41. Yeah. So we're going to look into that too. All right. The chilling moment, Kentucky Sheriff blasts court judge dead after sex abuse for special treatment claim. Chilling new body cam footage reveals the 911 call made after the judge was allegedly gunned down by sheriff in his office. Sean Steins, 44, is accused of peppering his former friend, Judge Kevin Mullins, 54, with 8 bullets in the Letcher County Courthouse, Whitesburg, Kentucky, on September the 19th last year. He had asked to be alone with Judge Mullins in his private chambers before he allegedly took his life following an argument. Steins later surrendered to officers. He was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and has since pled not guilty. On the audio for the newly released footage, someone can be heard saying, a 911 responder, "I've got an emergency at the courthouse. I need an ambulance here right now." The call handler then asks what happened. The person replies, "Judge has been shot." Following the shooting, it emerged that Steins was previously accused in a federal lawsuit of allegedly failing to investigate suggestions that one of his deputies was repeatedly essaying women. According to the lawsuit, a former deputy identified as Ben Fields forced at least 2 women to have sex inside the chambers of the shooting victim, Judge Kevin Mullins. According to the women, they were forced to have sex in exchange for staying out of jail on an unknown charge. In a deposition held 3 days prior to the shooting, Steins was accused of deliberately indifference in failing to adequately train and supervise the deputy. Fields, who had succeeded Steins as Mullins' bailiff, pled guilty to raping the women while she was on house arrest. The ex-deputy was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison on probation for rape, sodomy, perjury, and tampering with a prisoner's monitoring device, reports the Mountain Eagle. The charges pertaining to the second woman have since been dismissed as she has passed away. A lawsuit filed in 2020 alleged that Steins had fired Fields from his position for conduct unbecoming. The Courier-Journal reported at the time. It was also reported that Mullins had no idea what was going on. At the time, a lawyer representing Steins issued a statement saying, "The claims are merely allegations, and I believe once the facts of this matter are developed, the defendants will be exonerated." The shocking news of Mullins' murder was originally announced by Governor Andy Beshear. He said, "There is far too much violence in this world, and I pray there is a path to a better tomorrow." Mullins was known for presiding over misdemeanors, traffic infractions, arraignments, felony probable cause hearings, claims, civil cases, involuntary and voluntary mental commitments, and domestic abuse cases. Kentucky Supreme Court Chief Justice Lawrence B. Van Meter told the outlet that he was shocked by this act of violence and that the court system was shaken by this news. As a result of the shooting, nearby Letcher County High School was placed on lockdown. The school later released a statement saying that they were acting under orders from the state police who were dealing with an active shooter downtown. Um, so far they've released some things, but we're still waiting on more. This is just a little bit that we've gotten. So I'm trying to make sure that we get it all. Okay. So this is a little bit, similar. So we already know he's facing first degree murder charges for allegedly shooting for the shooting, right? New details emerged in the case at the preliminary hearing last month. Jeremy Bartlett, Stein's attorney, argued that Steins was experiencing an extreme emotional disturbance and claimed not enough evidence was presented to sustain the murder charge. "I think they've established probable cause for manslaughter first, but not murder," Bartlett said. He claimed that the shooting was not planned and Steins was experiencing an extreme emotional disturbance at the time. "It's not something that was planned and occurred in the heat of passion. For us, the highest level of culpability should be manslaughter based on the partial defense of extreme emotional disturbance." Despite Bartlett's objection, Chief Regional Judge Rupert Wilholt decided that there was enough evidence to send the case to a grand jury. Earlier in the hearing, more details emerged about the events leading up to the shooting. Kentucky State Police Detective Clayton Stamper testified that Steins and Mullins went out to lunch together, along with several others, earlier in the day on September 19th. "I was told that Judge made the statement to Mickey about, 'Do we need to meet in private chambers?' That's all I was told," Stamper said. Stamper said officers told him prior to the shooting, Steins tried to call his daughter from inside Mullins' chambers. He then borrowed Mullins' phone and attempted to call her again. Stamper also said that Steins told officers, "They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid," and he was taken into custody. Surveillance footage of the shooting was played in the courtroom. In a video, Mullins was hiding under his desk as Steins fired multiple shots. Steins then got closer to the judge and shot him twice at close range before leaving the chambers. Newsweek reached out to Bartlett and Commonwealth Attorney Jackie Steele for information on Steins' next court appearance. 3 days prior to the shooting, Steins gave a deposition in a lawsuit where he is named as defendant. The lawsuit filed in 2020, we already know that was where the deputy Ben Fields forced unwanted sexual acts in Mullins' chambers. They said that Ned Pillersdorf, the attorney handling that same lawsuit, said that Steins was acting odd during the deposition of that. My experience in a Kentucky court, if you file a civil rights suit against the sheriff, they're usually gregarious and talkative. He was none of those. Subdued, tense, evasive, most unfriendly. Pillersdorf told the outlet, "I did think there was something going on with him emotionally. And 3 days later, the unbelievable shooting occurred. Is it related? Who knows?" Steins was first elected as sheriff in 2018, then re-elected in 2022. Prior to that, he was a bailiff at the Letcher County District Court. After Steins retired, Billy Jones was sworn as his Letcher County sheriff. Mullins was a judge in the 47th Judicial District, and he was appointed in 2009 by former Governor Steve Beshear and elected to the position the following year. Hundreds of mourners gathered for his funeral in September. We already know a lot about that. So basically, the only new information that they've come out with a little bit more. We were talking about how I think there's a lot more to this case than just, oh, the dude had Jude's daughter's stuff in his phone, right? I think there's a lot more to that case than even even we know, right? Even we know. I think there's a lot more to that case. And as time goes on, we're going to learn when the actual trial actually takes place for that one. We're going to find some stuff out about that. They've already saying that, see, what they didn't tell us before, the new information that I just read was, first off, that same sheriff used to be a bailiff for that judge, right? Before he got elected. Now, here's my thing. I think they were all in on the sex scam shit. I think they knew they was all fixing to go down. And I think that judge knew something about that sheriff and he knew it was supposed to come out. I do believe that that sheriff may have been talking to his daughter too. And I think it was a lot of things compounded. Mm-hmm. Good morning, Happy Life. Good morning. So I think there's a lot to deal with that sheriff right there who shot the judge that we don't know about, y'all. That one's gonna be freaky when it comes out, man. And the fun thing about that trial was gonna be not fun the fact that he, off somebody or something, but I think it's gonna allow for us to see a lot of corruption that was going on in that little town. And I hope they let it all be known about the judge, the sheriff, the cops in that town. I'm telling you that there was some stuff going on there that we don't know about. I'm telling you, it was all kind of corruption. And they were sleeping with women in the judge's chambers. Now, you can't tell me that the judge didn't know nothing about that. If he knew that the only room in that courthouse that didn't have a camera was the judge at the time was the judge's chamber, and that's why they ended up getting the camera in the judge's chambers. You can't tell me that judge didn't know about it as small as that courthouse is. Have y'all seen how little that courthouse is? It's small. It's not a big one. Heck, our courthouse here is bigger than that one. You know what I'm saying? We got a big old court. Even now, I would say that because we have three different courts, right? We have the small circuit court, then you got the big one, you got big court, and you got federal court, right? Now, the little bitty courthouse, it's a small brick building. They just handle like fishing tickets, speeding tickets. It's where you pay your fines and stuff, right? It's just a little bitty. It's not, they don't do trials there. It's just you and a judge and a court reporter and a bailiff. That's it. That's for like misdemeanors and shit like that. Like if you got a no fishing license ticket or something, not a felony. Now if you get like straight up big, that's the big courthouse, and when you go to it, you'll see it's a 2-story joint, and you got to go through a metal detector and all this other stuff to even get up in there. They don't play about the federal courthouse, and you don't want to mess around and find out over there. But yeah, so we have 2 different courthouses, and we're a little small town. We're not a big old town. But now this story right here kind of touches my heart. This is I got to show y'all about this one. Also, right quick, hold on. Let me make sure there's no update on the trial setup for the Kentucky woman who ate her mama. Y'all remember me talking about that one? That was in October. I'm trying to see if there's anything been released. The last thing they're showing released for that one is in October. Let me see if I can look it up in a different way. Hell, there was another one that happened when I looked that up. A son is accused of boiling his mom's head in a stock pot. What the hell is up with people wanting to boil their family in damn pots and shit? I swear to God, that's some crazy shit. And that one happened in September of 2020. The one I'm looking at just happened in, so it's not old. Her name is Tortellini Fields. So I I got to spell that correctly and try to, I'm going to try to see if they have any updates on that one right quick. Um, let's see, Tortellini Fields versus Kentucky, or Kentucky versus her. I want to see if they have any new updates. Trial. See if they have a trial date yet for her. When they do her trial, okay, so she is scheduled to return to court on October the 23rd at 8:30 a.m. So it ain't gonna be till this next October. So she ain't getting. She gonna have to sit from when she had for basically a year. So that she pled not guilty, so she's got a year before they yeah. But we do know that that family's got some issues. Um, and not just she was arrested on a murder, abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, torturing a dog with serious physical injury, obstructing governmental operations. According to the indictment, Tortellini shot Trudy in the head and stabbed her multiple times. The indictment states that she proceeded to mutilate her body by decapitating, dismembering, and eviscerating it, along with placing her head and hands and feet and forearms in a pot in the oven and charring them. Tortellini also tortured and killed a dog. It's hard, but I got lots of family support. I just want this to be over with, and I want to know what happened, and I want us to go on with the rest of our lives, said Todd Broderick, Trudy Field's brother. I just thought she was a normal person, totally thought she was normal, you know. I couldn't picture seeing her do this, you know, but she's been caught red-handed, so that's where I figured she's at. Tortellini appeared in court today via Zoom, where she reappointed the Laura Fitzer with the Cathenia Public Defender's Office. Fitzer will work alongside Chris Tracy, the regional manager of the Cynthia Public Defender's Office. Fitzer filed a not guilty plea on her behalf. Motions for financial and medical records were also filed ahead of her next court appearance. We're doing a lot of investigations, and we're really ready to take all the information that we can to represent her the best of our ability and really just tell her story. That's the biggest thing, said Fitzer. Several members of Trudy's family were in court today, seeing Tortellini for the first time since before her arrest. She didn't seem different to me. Her mind didn't seem like she was screwed up, or, you know, she was very alert, paid attention to the judge. So I don't think there's anything wrong with her, Todd Brock said, Trudy's brother recalls. I guess I was expecting it to be worse, to where she wasn't coherent of things. I was hoping that she wasn't with it. Definitely looked much more normal than she did in the mugshot and stuff. Olivia Brock, Trudy's niece. Olivia says seeing Tortellini was like watching another person die, essentially. I feel like looking at her, I don't know. Maybe it's just my thoughts or whatever. I feel like she's aware of what she's done. I don't know. So whatever happens, happens. I mean, it's out of my hands. I just want to see peace and justice for my sister. And whatever comes of this, comes of it. But yeah, that's all I got to say, said Todd. So, you know, so she is supposed to go back to court and appear at March 10th at 9 a.m. So I'll keep researching that more and see what happens with that situation because we have been, you know, re-looking at that one. That's the lady, if y'all remember when I talked about it in October, who literally put her mom in a pot, and they said she was doing witchcraft, and she was actually at one time in Hollywood being an actress or something, and she had an accident on a motorcycle, and it left her with like problems, and she had like what is that, a traumatic brain injury. But she's the one, when the police come, like, she was acting all psycho and shit. She even killed the family dog, which makes me, like, here's the thing. You killed your mama. I'm already mad about that. But when you killed the puppy dog, bitch, you can rot in hell. Sorry. I'm just saying. I'm being partial on that one. I'm just, normally I'm impartial to these things, and I just try to report on it. But, you hurting that baby? We ain't cool now. We was never cool. But you know what I'm saying? Like, no. I hope they throw the book at your ass. I'm sorry. But to hurt the puppy dog, bitch, like, But I am going to keep up the Tortellini Fields case, because that is a crazy case to think about, right? She literally like cooked her mom, like, yeah. So I hope, in fact, there was also a thing where the brother of said girl and the sister were having issues, and she ended up trying to get a restraining order against the brother of this girl too, because he's supposedly crazy as shit also. So this family got issues, and some of them are batshit crazy, is basically what I figured out by looking into it and deep diving into it. We're going to look at, though, right now, this case. This is a preliminary hearing for this. Now, I'm going to give a disclaimer. For those of us who are parents, this may be hard to hear. Just saying. Detroit, a multi-day preliminary hearing is underway in the case against a man accused of murdering 13-year-old Naziah Harris. Jarvis, why did I say this? Jarvis Butts, 41, is facing charges of murder and sex crimes after prosecutors say he groomed, sexually assaulted, and impregnated the teen before killing her. Harris was last seen on January the 9th of 2024. So this literally just happened. Well, it happened last year, so it's been 1 year now. It's been exactly 1 year to date. Multiple witnesses have taken the stand this week, including Harris's aunt, who was in the dating relationship with Butts and has 5 children with the defendant. So he was married or with her aunt. And they have 5 children together. Shannon Harris testified that after her niece went missing, she found inappropriate Instagram messages between Naziah and Butts. On Tuesday, Naziah's cousin, who was 8 years old when she disappeared, recalled 2 separate occasions. She said Butts took them and another child to an auto shop where he worked. The child said Butts had sex with Naziah on both occasions and that he had sex with another girl. She said Butts also tried to have sex with her on the second occasion, but she refused. Law enforcement personnel have also testified about the search for Naziah, introducing evidence like her Nike gym shoes that were found discarded with some of her clothing in a wooded area. Lead investigator Sergeant Shannon Jones testified Wednesday about the search for Naziah and the red flags that stood out. Number 1, she had never been missing before. There's been no updates on any of her social media, which is very uncommon from a young child or a juvenile. They're addicted to those. There have been a last known contact that she had possibly met somebody. It is what we were informed, that there was a text message. Jones said investigators found questionable Google searches from December 2023 on electronic devices belonging to Butts, 1 month before Naziah disappeared. The searches include abortion methods and the Planned Parenthood website. I think, yeah, they have a video right here. We're going to watch this right quick.
All right, folks, let's get you back inside that Michigan courtroom where we've been following a preliminary hearing in the case against 41-year-old Jarvis Butts. Now, he's accused of killing 13-year-old Naziah Harris last winter. Prosecutors say evidence shows that Butts, who knew Harris's family members, allegedly groomed Naziah starting in 2022 when she was just 11 years old. She was pregnant when she was killed, and Butts was allegedly the unborn child's father. I'm going to get you back into that courtroom. We're watching the police interrogation of Jarvis Butts. Detectives are questioning him about his text messages and his last interaction with the victim. Let's listen in.
Make sure we come up to my question. What's her name? You know about when that picture might have been taken or where? Did she look like that last time you saw her? What she looked like the last time you saw her? Yeah. Long braids. Any color in braids? Okay. So it wasn't even done, so I don't even know where it was. But you talking about making for me? That's how I'm basically. So she really making for about that. But that's how I see her. She's with her hair. Yes, she was. She was making for because it's really sweet. And we stayed next door. So she was going back and forth with the next door. They were in the basement at the grandmother's house. She had her hair.
And I'm pausing at 1 hour, 35 minutes and 6 seconds.
All right, so here they're fast forwarding. Remember, this is a preliminary hearing. There's no jury. This is just for the judge. So this is something you can do in a preliminary hearing. Let's get back inside.
No, I'm just trying to think about this stuff.
Okay, so when I was asking you about you had any contact with text message or did anything you call driver, you said like you did, you don't have any contact with like that at all. Because you can't give me the last time you talked to them.
Right off the top of my head.
Were you supposed to meet her anyway?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So what is
Pausing at 1 hour, 45 minutes and 37 seconds. I'm playing at 1 hour, 15 minutes and 44 seconds.
girls are young girls as fast and things like that. So not a usually nothing, but some of these girls all the time just open up. I gotta have that shit. That's all I do. So can you kind of help me out, like, what went on with that, or point me in the right direction? I'm not saying you know, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is what happened. Like, I can't tell you. Why would you be texting me that and you wasn't me? So you should be supposed to be at the house. It's okay. That broke her blood. So I'm supposed to pick him up at that house, at that grandma's house on Bedford. Time to time, I had talked to him, and I did tell him that they indicated the location she had put at my grandma's house. I was supposed to do that because they got to school whatever time. I was living on my daughter, they got to school. I don't pick them, I don't pick one up without the other. By one. I don't pick one up without the other. So it was
Pausing at 1 hour, 51 minutes and 54 seconds. And I'm playing at 1 hour, 52 minutes and 47 seconds.
Did she ever confide you about having troubles with girls?
About the situation she had with some girls. Like, supposed to get jumped on something like that. I'm not sure. I know about that situation. I'm just
So what you talking about, Mike? So we're talking about the number that she called me from. Like I said, call from different numbers. So I tell you, text now shit. So right. So so I can delete your number. So you delete. I don't know why she say my number though. Because anything that we do, like I said, it's always like that. And when they call me from text now numbers. Is what it is, everything's in my phone, y'all have possession of my phone, take a look at it, go through it. I don't know what that's about, I don't know why she said it is my number. So, you're saying that you didn't need her, right? I'm Jesus, I didn't need her, I was Jesus. Like I said, she sent me a text message. I was going straight to her. We never got a chance to anything because I'm moving on this morning. Is that what I asked you? We were doing a job this night. Oh, man. Right? Yeah, we were doing a job. Mom job. I don't know what that is.
I'm pausing at 1 hour, 54 minutes and 42 seconds. And I'm playing at 1 hour, 56 minutes and 53 seconds.
You ever see this person from the YouTube? Little more, like he's like, she was just, let's talk about the house number that I had, and she had texted me. Yes. Yeah, so he had texted me, I asked what number was this, she's like, I don't know. I gave her the number, she said she didn't know what number that was. So you see that y'all had correspondence the day before, on the 8th? Yeah, I'm saying, what does it say? So. It said, what are you doing? All right, that's you. That was nothing I was doing? She said that she asked me you was at work and you responded what you doing. Yeah, what are you doing? So, y'all had a back and forth conversation. I like that. I mean, like I say, they call me when I have jobs, and I told you when they had my house. So that is the way that the minutes, and again, I'm just trying to understand you. So I can tell you that. No, you wait. This is again, at the beginning of the conversation, we asked did you want to speak with her on the phone or text message? And you said that, and you said that you either speak with the grandma or you speak with your child's mother. Or they call me and ask me and harass me, and I call the grandmother and let them know that they did that. But here, we have a back and forth conversation. I think what's the conversation?
All right, he's digging a big hole for himself there. Let's bring in our guest still with us, criminal defense attorney Robin Nunn. Robin, these interviews are so important to police's case, which is why, defense attorneys, we always tell folks don't talk because they have information. They know that she's been texting him. They know the content of those texts, the fact that she planned to meet him on the day she disappeared after school, the fact that she told him back in September, this was a couple of months before, that she wasn't having her period. So he knows what's going on, and he's denying a lot of it, denies the last time he saw her, says it was at grandma's house when they know he saw her after that. So all these things are the way you really build a case.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was a little concerned because the conversation seemed pretty casual between the police officers and him, but I do believe that they're beginning to get into the weeds. They're beginning to show him the text messages. They're beginning to ask the tough questions that need to be asked in terms of, what exactly is this relationship? It's obviously highly unusual to be texting back and forth, having conversations with a 13-year-old girl when you're 41. But that seems to be what the dynamic of the relationship was. But getting to the bottom of, what he and their conversation and relationship was is going to be really key in terms of this hearing and determining whether he'll be charged with this crime.
We're not. And unfortunately, it's unusual under most circumstances, but obviously not for Jarvis Butts, right? This is something that he seems to make some sort of, it's almost what he does. And it's just crazy. I want to go back to this preliminary hearing part. Again, I want folks to understand the standard here is very low. The rules of evidence are sort of relaxed. So the state's allowed to move their tapes back and forth. Normally, there would have to be some agreement between the parties. But ultimately, talk about the fact that the standard here is very, very low.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. On some levels, they don't have to prove everything. They don't have to bring forward every witness, every DNA test, every text message. They just have to make a reasonable showing that they indeed can charge and indict this individual for this crime. And I think that's where we are at this point. We have someone who's disappeared, and I think that they're really trying to set forth that this is the person who did it.
Yeah, no question about it. Probable cause is all they need to show. Robin Nunn, thank you so much for being with us tonight. As always, we'll see you again real soon.
What's sad about this situation is that he was basically her uncle, pretty much, and he was supposed to, you know, be a person that she trusted in a way, and he basically groomed this child from the time that she was little, and you know, he was 41 years old while this child was 13, and she supposedly missed her her period or whatnot. And so, I would like to hear they stated that the aunts testified on Tuesday. Nevaeh's cousin, who is 8 years old, who, when she disappeared, recalled two separate occasions. She said when Butts took them to and another child to the auto shop where he worked. The child said Butts had sex with Nevaeh on both occasions, and he had sex with another girl. So she wasn't the only one in the family, and I hope they don't just charge him with this child's murder. I hope they also charge him with every count that he has touched the children in this family. And my question is, did anybody in the family suspect that he was the nasty uncle? You get what I'm saying? Like, this happens in families and it's super sad. So, I'm hoping to find the Harris's aunt. Oh, here we go. I think this might be it right here. Let me see if this is it right here. I want to see the aunt's testimony and what she says, and see if we can find information on that, because I would actually like to hear what the aunt actually had to say. 25 years has taken. Because to me that would be very telling, because obviously the aunt and him have children together. They've been together for many, many, many years. And I believe that her testimony and the testimony of the person who, let's see what we got here. Oh, why is my
16-year-old from Detroit faced a judge today. Thank you so much for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 5. I'm Whitney Burney.
And I'm Mike Duffy. It's been almost 1 year since the teen went to school on January 9th and never came home. This past September, Jarvis Butts was charged in the murder and assault of Nevaeh Harris. Today, her body has not been found.
And loved ones have held on to hope during multiple searches. As you can imagine, they're still hurting and wanting answers.
7 News Detroit reporter Faraz Javed is closely following the case. Faraz, what happened in court today?
Here at the 36th District Court, we may find out tomorrow if the 41-year-old suspect, Jarvis Butts, will stand trial for the alleged murder of 13-year-old Naziah Harris. On the stand today was the teenager's aunt, who was in a dating relationship with Butts and has 5 children with him. Shannon Harris testified that after her niece went missing, she found inappropriate Instagram messages between Naziah and Butts. Also on the stand was the detective who led the search for the teen, introducing evidence like Naziah's red and black Nike gym shoes they found discarded with some of her clothing in a wooded area. Also on the stand today was Naziah's maternal grandmother, who actually adopted her. Prosecutors asked Annette Harris about Naziah's contact with Jarvis Butts outside of their home.
Did you know Naziah to go to Mr. Butts' place of work to assist him with anything there?
Yes, there was a couple of times that she went with his daughter and they went up there to go clean up in his shop.
And how would they get it? If you remember?
He would come and pick them up.
Now, Naziah's body has never been found, but prosecutors allege that Butts killed the teen after he found out that she was pregnant with his child. From downtown, I'm Faraz Javed, 7 News Detroit.
Faraz, thank you.
That is a very sad situation to note that the uncle was not only messing with her, but other children within the family. We're going to keep an eye on this case when it goes to trial. That was the preliminary hearing to charge him pretty much. So when the trial actually comes into play, we're going to look more into that one. That is a very sad situation for me. That was a 13-year-old child and a 41-year-old man. And it's really sad situation that a 13-year-old had to go through that. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know mentally what this did to the child. I'm going to watch. I want to hear what right quick what these people have to say about it, because it seems very prevalent to the case. And then we're going to switch over to the NH versus Victor Rivera case. So I just want to hear this right quick because I believe it is very prevalent. And I want to see what they say. This is a news conference. Kim L. Worthy.
The picture behind me is of Zanaya, and that will always be haunting because it was taken just a short time before the evidence shows that she was never seen or heard from again. It was taken by Naziah herself, a selfie. That's the last known picture that we know about of her. It was pointed out to me by one of the detectives on this case and by one of the prosecutors. She is smiling and waving and saying hello. But little did she know that she was really saying goodbye.
This story is so incredibly tragic. Naziah Harris, little 13-year-old girl, should be enjoying those teenage years, should be having fun, laughing with her friends, going to school, learning, doing all of those things, but she's not. And she's missing, but presumed to be dead and murdered. I want you to take a listen to Kim Worthy. That was the prosecutor from Wayne County. Here she is talking about the evidence against the man that they have accused of the murder. And there's a connection between this man and Naziah's family. And a lot of the facts here are disturbing, to say the least.
The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. The last time she was seen alive was January the 9th of this year, 2024. Almost 9 months ago. Her missing status was reported to the Detroit Public School Police Department by her grandmother on that very day when she never returned home from school. And again, that was January the 9th of 2024. In early February of 2024, the case was turned over to the Detroit Police Department. Frankly, that should have happened right away, but they began investigating immediately. The evidence would further show that through text messages that we know and that we have, Zanaya and this defendant were going to meet after school on January the 9th. We know that she did indeed meet up with the defendant that we're charging in this case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in several different locations, people that he knew well. We have evidence that at 9:30 p.m. on that day, that Mr. Butts checked into a motel and that Zanaya was never seen or heard from again. Not from her family, not from her schoolmates, not from her friends, not from social media where she was extremely active with her friends, not from teachers, no one. We know that she had no medical conditions that would cause a life-threatening medical emergency to her. And he, again, was the last person that saw her alive. She would have turned 14 years old just 10 days ago on September the 16th of 2024. And again, no one has seen or heard from her. You look at that face and you do not see the horrors that she had gone through in her short life. The exploitation, the molestations, the sexual abuse, and the pregnancy that she was concealing. The evidence will show that from one of her text messages to and with Jarvis Butts. And we also know, the evidence will show, that there's no evidence of anyone else being the father of that child, other than the defendant himself, who we charged today. And he knew she was pregnant. We know that he was also searching for ways to abort the baby. We know that sexually explicit photos were requested by him of her and that she complied and sent them to her. All at the hands, we allege, the man we are charging with her death and also her long-term sexual abuse. Today, we are charging Jarvis Butts with 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, and 1 count of child sexually abusive material. Today, we are also charging Mr. Butts with more counts of criminal sexual conduct on 2 more girls, yes, girls, on 2 other separate cases. The girls in question now are 20 and 11 respectively today, but both were under the age of 13 years old at the time the offenses occurred that we're charging. Based on all the evidence that I've laid out now and much more that will be shown later in court, based on all of these cases we will present in court, Mr. Butts targeted and befriended women who had to have sexual relationships with their young daughters. He would have relationships with their mothers, but his true desire was to have sex with their young daughters. That's what the evidence will show. He was a classic and expert groomer and pedophile.
Sounds so familiar. A lot of parallels with this case and what happened to Madeline Soto down in Florida. And it's these predators. They know how to do it. They know how to get close to children. And that's apparently what happened here. I want to bring in a special guest with us tonight. Joining us from Detroit, Michigan, Neziah Harris's cousin, Roxy. Roxy, thank you so much for joining us. This is a huge development in the case. Wanted to get first your reaction to the prosecutor, Kim Worthy, making the announcement that the charges have been brought in this case.
It's definitely a sense of relief here to finally be able to hear her say those words that we've been knowing from the beginning. Like I said in our last interview, you know, we, considering his background and things like that, we had our suspicions, and we're glad that they finally came to light today.
So can you explain for us the connection of Jarvis Butts and Neziah and Neziah's family and your family?
The connection with Jarvis is Jarvis was Neziah's aunt boyfriend, and they also have children together as well. So that was how he was able to be around the family as the immediate family that Neziah was living with, I assume as often as he wanted to be.
And his history, how well did people know his history and what he liked to do, which was prey upon children?
His history was very well known. I mean, he did do time in prison before for sexual misconduct of a 13-year-old girl or under as well. And I think he did 10 years in prison for that as well. And it was also very well known to her aunt, who was her boyfriend that he let it be known to her as well that he was also, a sexual predator, and he left a decision up to her whether she wanted to continue to have a relationship with him, and she continued to have a relationship with him, knowing that he previously had those charges against him, did time for it, and that he was a registered sex offender.
How long? Because what the prosecutor said, Prosecutor Worthy, the long-term sexual abuse, and that's the part that just breaks your heart. How long did he have access to Neziah?
From what the prosecutor said, they said that they have messages going back to 2022. However, I personally believe that he's been around the family longer than that, considering the fact of, the amount of children that he has with Neziah's aunt, and those children, I think the oldest is probably 11 or 12 years old. So he's been around for a while.
I want to take a listen to the prosecutor here who was answering a question during this press conference. Let's take a listen.
Some of Neziah's relatives said they previously had talked to CPS about allegations of sexual abuse from Neziah and other kids. Did that ever make it to your office? Is that something that police have investigated before?
Yeah, let me just say this, that if anyone that is watching this press conference right now or reads any of the coverage that I'm sure that you will give this, has any reason to believe that they were a victim of his or that they know something else, we certainly welcome them to contact the Detroit Police Department.
So it wasn't a direct answer to the question, but Roxy, from the position of the family, is there any level of frustration that the family knew of this, they were reaching out and nothing was done? Is anyone, like, there's obvious blame, Jarvis Butts is the one, right? But is there any level of shared blame amongst anyone else who didn't do anything here?
The debate continues. A waterline break will cost over $2,800 to fix. Get HomeServe to save money on repairs.
Absolutely. There's definitely lots of frustration within the family. There were family members that called CPS several times. There were family members that called the police as well, and nothing came of it. CPS is supposed to be, safeguard welfare for our children, and they're supposed to be able to respond promptly and do thorough investigations to be able to negate reports of abuse and neglect. And because of the reports of the abuse and the neglect and the molestation that were reported to Child Protective Services, and for it to just seem like, there wasn't a thorough investigation being done or just turned a blind eye. And unfortunately, it's brought us to this very unfortunate event, which is, my cousin being deceased today.
That's exactly the problem here, right? It's Child Protective Services. We want them to protect them before this happens. If we know of something, see something, say something, make a report. And unfortunately, Neziah was not protected in all of that. I have to point out that your shirt says, "Where is Neziah?" Because she still hasn't been found.
Right.
How important is it that
her body is still, they do not have her, they have not found her body. They do not have her body. So we will continue to ask, where is Neziah, so that we can be able to give her the proper rest that she deserves. She didn't deserve any of this to happen to her. She was only 13 years old, or 14, 10 days ago. And it was hard to even try to have a celebration for her because it was not a celebration, and it should have been. So we will continue to ask, where is Neziah, until we get those answers, because she needs to properly be laid to rest properly, because she deserves that.
Absolutely. And Roxy, it's important that the family does exactly what you're doing. Let everyone know this doesn't end right now. It doesn't end with an arrest. It doesn't end with a conviction.
Right.
We need to find Neziah as well. Roxy, thank you so much. We'll speak again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about this case. Now it's in our system of justice. You heard about the charges. You heard about CPS. Our think tank weighs in next.
To me, this is one of the saddest situations. This is a child. You know what I'm saying? And Neziah did not deserve that. She was a beautiful young lady, had so much life ahead of her. And if y'all heard what they said, they believed that was a family member that, he had been talking. Hey, Sophia's Oasis. He had been talking to this child since she was 11 or younger. Good morning, Remix Revenge. Good morning. So this child, literally, this was her uncle. Okay. This man had access to her. His oldest child with the aunt was 12 years old. So that means that he had been in this child's life, if she was just since turn 14, since she was 1.5 to 2 years old. Right? He had been in her life since she was a year old. And this is not the only child that he is alleged to have touched in this family. And we've seen this in families before. This is a generational curse that we all need to break. If you know something, see something, say something. If you know there's a nasty uncle in the family that is doing these things, don't just let it go by, because as we see, what just happened with Neziah can happen with other children. The abuser can go loco and unalive the child. We need to protect our children and our children within our families. Like, if you know there's like that one person that likes to, we all know who I'm talking about in every family, right? Every family just about has one. You have that nasty uncle that likes to touch the girls' booties and do things, or that nasty auntie that likes to look at the boys a little too weird. If you know that something's going on, say something. Don't just allow it to continue, because this can happen to anyone. This is a generational curse that should have been broken, and people knew about it and didn't do anything. This is the sad part of this case. So he is charged with first-degree premeditated murder, and the maximum penalty for that is life in prison without parole. Child sexual abusive activity, maximum penalty of 20 years. Criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, persons under 13, defendant 17 or older, a maximum penalty of 15 years. A Wayne County judge still has to decide if there is enough evidence to send Butts to trial. Neziah's body has not been found, but police say there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that Butts murdered the girl after learning she was pregnant with his child. She was 13, y'all, 13. She would have turned 14 this last September. She was 13 when she went missing and pregnant with her uncle's child. Butts' ex-fiancée testified she was with him when he first turned himself in. Butts has also been charged with abusing 2 other girls. He is previously convicted of sexual assault back in 2005. He was released from prison in 2014. So the aunt very well knew that this man was a predator. Okay? And continued to be, with this man. Her cousin said she saw the man, she saw Butts sexually assault Neziah. There is a child within the family. Butts told police Neziah and his daughters would help him clean up his auto shop, and he would pay them for it. He denied seeing Neziah on January the 9th and said he last saw her 2 days before that. They began texting in March of 2023, Jones said. Butts texted Neziah things like, "Stop messing with people and just be mine. I can't stop thinking about you either. I want some pussy," and told her he loved her. Neziah called him babe, told him she needed someone to talk to and that he was the only person she really trusted. She asked him if he was going to hit it from the back again. Neziah was last seen getting off her school bus January the 9th near Cornwall Street and 3 Mile a 3-mile drive on Detroit's east side. Butts is charged with first-degree murder, a second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and one count of child sexual abuse of material. Prosecutors believe Butts got Neziah pregnant after sexually assaulting her and killed her. Jones said Butts did multiple Google searches in early December of 2023, looking up information about abortion pills, herbal teas that may prompt an abortion, and if someone could drink red antifreeze. Butts told police during an interview May 31st that he tried to keep his distance after Neziah went missing because of his history, but he helped with flyers. During testimony Tuesday, a Detroit police sergeant testified that Butts' phone was in the area of 7 Mile and Berg Road between 11:40 p.m. January 10th and 1:34 a.m. January the 11th, which is where several items of clothing were found. DNA testing showed both Neziah and Butts' DNA on a pink jumpsuit and a black hoodie. Neziah's school ID was also found in the area, laying face down on the ground. Butts was sentenced to 7 years in prison after pleading guilty to having sex with a child in 2004. He was charged in April of 2024 with 2 counts of criminal sexual abuse of a person under the age of 13. He also was charged in September with sexually assaulting 2 young girls. So this is not his only time he has ever been accused, or let's not just say accused, but he pled guilty. He was sentenced to having sexual intercourse with a child in 2004. Now, I myself think the aunt needs her ass beat. If I was a woman in that family, right? And let's say she kept that from me and my family, I would beat her ass. Because this child is no longer here with us. If I was the mama of this child or the daddy and I knew about it, why would I let him? They let him take the child to his place of work. He supposedly worked at a auto shop. I'm not sure if he owned it or what, to go clean up, and that's how he had. He literally they let the young girls go with this man. Just go with him after he literally pled guilty to sexual assault on a child in 2004 and got out in 2014. And you allowed him to be near your child? You've got to be shitting me. Okay, I'm sorry. This really ticks me off as a mother. I don't know how y'all feel as a mother and a father, or even an aunt and uncle, or even someone who just cares about children. But how in the ever-loving hell did you allow this man, knowing his history, as many times he's been charged and found guilty and all this other stuff, around your children, and let him be in private with your children? That's the point. And the aunt had like 4 or 5 kids by him, and the oldest being 12. What makes you think he wouldn't do this to his own children? You got to be shitting me. This case is probably going to tick me off as I watch it, because he's not the only one, in my opinion, that deserves charges. If the aunt knew about it, if the family members knew about it, anybody who allowed their child to just freely go off with him, in my opinion, also deserves a damn charge, because I wouldn't let my child go off with a known sexual predator. Would not. My child would not be even nowhere near them. In fact, I probably would never speak to that ass again if I found that shit out. Now, I do know there is a such thing as false allegations. I get that. Right? But obviously for the children, and there was a 20-year-old who, she's now 20, but when it happened, she was under the age of 13. There was also another child who is now 11. So that means that child was under the age of 11 when it happened to them. Right? So, yeah. Good morning, the Hood Table. I'm talking about, if you want to look it up, the Hood Table, so you can know, so you don't have to necessarily red ball. The case that I am looking at right now is Naziah. Her name was Naziah. And Naziah Harris. And the man's name, and she was 13 years old. Her body has still not been found. It's been a year. She would have turned 14 this year. She had, the sad part is that her 41-year-old uncle was sexually molesting her, abusing her, grooming her, all this other stuff. And he's now charged with her murder because she was pregnant with his child at 13 years old. And she is not the only person in the family he did this to. He was also convicted with another child when he in 2004 and stayed in prison until 2014. So literally 10 years before what he did to, he was out for 10 years, out of prison for only 10 years when he did what he did to Naziah. Now, whoever is her family needs their ass beat. I'm just going to tell you, and they let him take this child to his place of work to help clean up, and you knew what he was accused of, what he literally pled guilty to, and you let him be alone with your child. So not only does the uncle, he's the main one that needs to go to jail, but to me, the parents need to be held accountable, the aunt and anybody else that was involved with this shit, because how the hell you gonna let him take your child into a private room by herself and you know that he was convicted of the same thing? How are you going to trust a man with your child when he was convicted? See, this is a generational curse that needs to be, if you know somebody in your family has been convicted, accused, any of that shit, you never leave them with your children alone. I don't care if you have a little boy or a little girl. I don't care if you got a niece or a nephew. If you know somebody in your family is like that, don't leave them alone with your children, ever, or any child for that matter. Even if you see them along with the neighbor child or their own child, you better be paying attention. Protect the kids, man. Break the generational curses. Now poor Naziah is not here anymore and will not be able to grow up, will not be able to go to college, will not be able to go to her first prom. She was 13 years old. That means this child was in middle school. She was probably a 7th grader. 13, fisting to turn 14. She was probably fisting to go into the 8th grade. Wasn't even in high school yet. Didn't even get to experience her 8th grade dance. None of this. Because of a selfish 41-year-old man who liked to mess with children. Boy, they better be glad they don't let me take care of what I would like to do to them people. I'm just saying. People who touch children, they better be glad they don't let me have a jail system to take care of them, because they would not like the way that I did it. This is the saddest situation. Now I'm going to read this other one, and then we're going to switch to another trial because I'm going to need to get off this subject because it's pissing me off. A Detroit man accused of killing 13-year-old Naziah Harris has had a sexual relations with her prior to her death and has been searching online for methods to get an abortion, according to Detroit police. Detroit Police Sergeant Shannon Jones, who was the 23rd witness to testify against 42-year-old Jarvis Butts during a preliminary exam this week, interrogated Butts in late May and early June about his relationship with Naziah, who was last seen January the 9th, 2024, and is believed to be dead. Butts had 5 children with Naziah's aunt, and he was an uncle figure to her, he told police. No shit, he was married to her aunt. He said, it was never sexual, it was never physical, he told police June 1st. I never had a sexual relationship with Naziah. Yet, he said this before talking about some pictures Naziah had sent him. Ones where she was nude and wearing lingerie-style clothes, according to the video of the interview played Wednesday in Detroit's 36th District Court. Judge Aliyah Sabri has heard evidence over the past 3 days so she can determine if there is a probable cause for Butts to stand trial for the sexual assault and murder of Naziah, whose body has never been found. The hearing will continue Thursday, when Sabri will likely make her decision. Butts told police Naziah and his daughters would help him clean his auto shop and he would pay them for it. He denied seeing Naziah January the 9th and said he last seen her 2 days before that. They began texting in March of 2023, Jones said. Butts texted Naziah things like, stop messing with people and just be my... This whole situation, it just makes me mad. It just makes me mad. We're gonna switch over here to this trial right quick, and we're gonna play this information, and then I'm gonna read you the
to what the defense attorney for Victor Rivera has to say.
Victor Rivera did not have the criminal intent to kill Matthew and Patricia. Victor was shocked, stunned, and overwhelmed about information that he learned that night. He was not thinking. His ability to make rational choices was overwhelmed, and his conscious self became a helpless passenger as he shot Matthew and Patricia. Victor did not mean to put anyone in danger. He didn't mean to do anything, intend anything, or act with a conscious object. He reacted and was unaware of what he was doing until it was too late. There are two parts to every crime: a physical action and a mental state. The state must prove that Victor was aware of the nature of his conduct and that his actions would result in the deaths of Matthew and Patricia. That's knowingly. Or alternatively, that Victor was aware of a risk he was creating. That's recklessly. The state cannot prove it, and the state cannot tell you what was going through Victor's mind in those moments. But Victor can. And he will. He will come up here and he will testify. Even though, as we talked about in voir dire, it can be scary. Even though he knows he will be scrutinizing all of his body language. And even though he knows it can be interpreted in different ways and affected by many different things. Even though, as one of you said during voir dire, it's a risk. Even though he does not have to testify, he is going to come up here in front of all of you, in front of a full court, and testify and tell you what happened that night. He is going to tell you about the things that led up to that night and what was happening in his head. I tell you this because the state is going to call several witnesses. But I'm asking that you hold your judgment until you've heard from Victor, until you've heard what he has to say about that night. What happened that night was a reaction to a painful situation, and we need to travel back in time to understand it and to understand Victor. Victor and his family moved to New Hampshire when he was in his early 20s, and he's been here in Nashua, living with his mom since then. In September of 2023, he was living with his mom and working, doing processing at Stone's Yogurt, a job that he held for 13 years. You see, Victor has not led a particularly exciting life. Quite the opposite. Victor has led an uncomplicated life, more modest and regimented than anything else. Victor does have one hobby, that's fishing, which he did at every opportunity. But for the most part, on most days, almost every day, for years, weekends often included, Victor did the exact same thing. He woke up, he went to work, he went to slaves, he went home, showered, and then he went back to Slade's. And as I mentioned, when he could, at every opportunity, he would go fishing, oftentimes very late at night or very early in the morning. You see, Victor is a man of simple routines, a creature of habit, and Slade's was a huge part of his daily routine. He would play pool with the owner's husband, he would play some Keno, talk to the people he knew there. Victor was what you would call a regular, because Slade's is a community. It's a community spot that has a lot of regulars. Everybody knew Victor's name. Everybody knew Patricia's name. Everybody knew Matthew's name. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody's business. So when Victor and Patricia started dating, everybody knew. Patricia took care of Victor. She bought him earbuds because he didn't get hearing aids. She pestered him to make doctor's appointments. She would often drive him places. She cared for him. And in spite of all the nice things that Patricia did for him, one night stands out in contrast. On this particular night, Victor walked into a room in Patricia's house, and he saw something between Matthew and Patricia. Or maybe he thought he saw something. He accused Patricia and Matthew of running around on him. Patricia and Matthew denied Victor's accusations. They convinced him that he didn't see what he thought he saw. Instead, they used guilt, shame, and emotions to try and pressure Victor into apologizing. Victor did not want to apologize. He thought his accusations were legitimate. But Patricia and Matthew convinced him that he was the one that was wrong. Victor relented, and Victor apologized. After all, Victor is an uncomplicated person. This was his girlfriend and his friend that he was accusing. Maybe he was wrong. Patricia and Victor didn't break up that night or the night after. They broke up in March of 2023. They had been dating, as you heard, for about 1.5 years, but Patricia wanted more. Patricia broke up with Victor through a text message. I feel like we are at a standstill in our relationship. We act more like friends than we do lovers. We are not intimate, nor do we even kiss and hug. I stopped kissing or hugging you over a month ago, and you don't seem to mind. I feel if we continue this way, I will start to resent you, and you won't even be able to be friends. So before that happens, I'd like to go back to being friends. Victor didn't respond. They were broken up, and Victor figured that the fact that she broke up with him by text message meant that she didn't want to talk to him. So he didn't talk to her. But they both continued to go to Slade's because they were regulars, as did Matthew. At some point, unbeknownst to Victor, Matthew and Patricia began dating. On the night of September 29th, Victor and Patricia had been broken up for months. Victor figured that Patricia had been seeing other people. He had seen her talking with others at Slade's. But on September 29th, he saw Patricia and Matthew together. If it wasn't clear before, it was certainly obvious then that they were together romantically. Later that night, when they were leaving, Victor went to talk to them. And Matthew said, "Oh, this guy." This and an earlier interaction set the tone for that conversation. Now, Victor already realized that Patricia and Matthew were dating. And as you saw, it's all on video, and you'll be able to review that. At first, the argument was about whether or not they had lied to him. Had Patricia cheated on him? Had his friend betrayed him? They continued to argue as they got to Matthew's truck. It seemed now like maybe they had, and amidst all this, in that moment, Victor recalled that they had also made him apologize. For the first time, he thought that perhaps they were playing him as a fool, made him question himself, his own reality, his own memories. And as this occurred to him, he asked, "Why did you make me apologize?" In the video, if you watch it closely, you'll see his arms go up like this. He didn't get an answer, so he asked again, "Why did you make me apologize?" Patricia glances towards Matthew and says, "Well, he did too." And he looked back at Victor, essentially admitting that not only did they cheat, but they emotionally manipulated him, they gaslit him. The humiliation of making him apologize and question his own reality. And in that moment, Victor did not think. All thoughts stopped. He was shocked, stunned, and overwhelmed. Victor could not think. He didn't think. He was shocked. This new information so overwhelmed his ability to make rational choices that he didn't make a rational choice. His conscious self became a helpless passenger as he shot Matthew and Patricia. But at that moment, he didn't intend to shoot the gun. He was not aware of what he was doing, and he wasn't aware of the risk he was creating. Victor walked away. Victor didn't hide the gun. Victor didn't destroy the gun. He texted with his cousin. He expressed horror and remorse. He waited for the police. We know this from the text messages. "I just did something. Can't take it back. I love you. Tell my mom that I love her. I should have never done it. I didn't mean to. It was stupid. I was so furious. That's all. I'm waiting for the cops." You see, Victor knew that what he had done was beyond awful. But even then, in what he thought was a private conversation with somebody who loved him, he said, "I didn't mean to." He said he didn't mean to because he didn't. He didn't think. He was unaware of what he was doing. The text messages, though, can only tell you so much. Victor will tell you that he never made a conscious choice to do what he did. He would have chosen differently had he thought. Now, the judge will tell you that the state has the burden of proof. And because they have the burden of proof, they get to go first. They get to go first in opening statements. They get to go first in calling witnesses. I bring this up because I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Because after each one of those witnesses, I want you to remind yourself, I haven't heard everything yet. You will not hear everything until Victor comes up here and he testifies. And that won't happen until the very end of the trial. You won't hear from the one person who really knows what happened that night until you hear from him, until you get to know Victor, see how he talks, see how he thinks, see him, and hear him tell you what happened in his head, as only he can. Victor's actions were not planned, they were not knowing, they were not reckless. They were done without thought and without intention. And as you know, there are two parts to every crime, a physical action and a mental state. Victor was so shocked, stunned, and overwhelmed that he never formed a mental state. Victor Rivera is not guilty.
All right, so we're going to go over this case. This is the Nashua, New Hampshire. A man accused of murdering two people in the parking lot is standing trial. Victor Rivera, 49, is charged with the murders of Patricia Swaite, 45, and Matthew Champagne, who were 44, who were found shot to death on September the 29th of 2023 after police responded to a report of shots fired near the Maple Street parking lot. Rivera was indicted by a grand jury on February the 20th of 2024 on charges of second-degree murder for knowingly causing the deaths of Sweet and Champagne. The same grand jury also returned indictments on 2 alternate counts of second-degree murder for reckless causing the victim's death by shooting them. In a search warrant application reviewed by Court TV, Nashua police said that the officers quickly determined that Sweet had been in a relationship with Rivera and that ended 6 months before the shooting, and that Sweet was in a new relationship with Champagne. Surveillance video reviewed by police of the parking lot allegedly shows Rivera approaching the couple, and the three appear to argue before Rivera pulls out a firearm and shoots. When Rivera was arrested, police found him carrying a .40 caliber Glock pistol and a magazine. On day one, jury view took place before opening. Jurors saw the public parking lot in which Sweet and Champagne were shot to death. Prosecution and defense delivered opening statements. Victor Rivera's public defender, Maya Dominguez, acknowledged Rivera as the man seen on the surveillance video gunning down Trisha Sweet and Matt Champagne in a downtown Nashua parking lot, but she urged jurors to keep an impartial mind until Rivera takes the stand for the defense. She's very clearly assured jurors that Rivera will take the stand. Dominguez and Rivera never formed a criminal intent because he was so shocked and stunned and overwhelmed when he found out that his friend and ex-girlfriend were dating. This revelation purposely enraged Rivera because he had previously accused Sweet and Champagne of being romantically involved, while Rivera and Sweet were still in a relationship. And according to Rivera, they gaslit him and convinced him he was mistaken. Once they had convinced Rivera there was nothing going on between them, the pair then sought an apology from Rivera for lodging the accusation, and he did so at that time. Let's see what else. That this is day one of the trial. So is that, let me see that. Let me see what that is right quick, because I may actually want to play this information if this is true. Oh, this is the aunt of the case we were just listening to. Yes, I do want to hear the aunt's testimony on the other case. So I have that pulled up right quick. We're going to listen to that because I do want to hear that. So in the Victor Rivera, he's basically claiming that let's see on this. Let's see if we can see more on so far, this is what's going on. That happened January the 8th. So they just did opening statements pretty much. So as this trial goes on, obviously we're going to cover it. Let's see what this says right here. This is basically the video proof of what he did, I think. Let me see this. That's Nevaeh's story. Oh, they're giving some updates on some stuff on here, so we're gonna play this right quick.
He has since passed away, but now there are new developments in this case. Police. It was just another seemingly normal day for 13-year-old Neziah Harris. She went to school, spent time with her friends, went to class, and then got on the bus to go home. But when Neziah stepped off that bus in East Detroit last January, it would be the last time anyone remembers seeing her. Neziah vanished. Where did she go? Who was with her? These are questions that were still haunting her family, and questions her father never got answered as he has since passed away. But now there are new developments in this case. Police have made an arrest, her aunt's boyfriend, and now shocking evidence that this 13-year-old girl was pregnant. The accused killer in court, and testimony from an 8-year-old girl who witnessed the sexual assault of Neziah. Her body's never been found, But Jarvis Butts has been charged with murder, and we have all the latest from this shocking and heartbreaking preliminary hearing. But first, Patricia Swell and Victor Rivera were a couple. And like so many relationships, things did not work out and they broke up. Patricia was able to move on. In fact, she started dating a man named Matt Champagne. Victor, however, was not able to move on. And one night, 6 months later, he allegedly confronted Patricia and Matt in a parking lot and shot and killed them both. The killing was caught on surveillance video, but Rivera has proclaimed his innocence and is going to trial and will tell his story on the witness stand.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We've got a lot of stories to get to this hour. I want to begin, though, and talk about what you have seen trial in and trial out every time on Court TV. Everyone has a defense. They all do. I have yet to see a trial here on Court TV where the prosecution does their thing and the defense says, well, we don't have a case, Your Honor. We got nothing for you. They may not have any witnesses, but they've got a theory, they've got arguments, and sometimes they have testimony, and sometimes they have physical evidence, they have cross-examination. They always have a case, they always have a defense, every time. Even in cases where, you know, going into the trial, you might think, they've got nothing. Like, what is the defense even gonna be? Like, let's go back in time. That woman down in Central Florida whose daughter was murdered, Kaylee Marie Anthony, her mother, whose name starts with a C. She had a defense. It was George did it. Yeah, it was Dad. It was his fault. He got rid of the body. He did all these horrible things. He's an evil man. He was, you know, molesting the little girl. I mean, that was sort of their defense. And oh wow, kind of worked. Kind of worked in that one. And that was one of those cases where we're like, really, what's your defense? Well, they had a defense and it worked. How about O.J. Simpson, the Colombian drug lords, right? Or something like that, I don't know. But this is a case where, like, the DNA was there. There was motive, there was opportunity, there was a mountain of evidence. Yet there was a defense, and the defense worked. O.J. Simpson found not guilty. Even Robert Durst, who decapitated his neighbor in Texas, took his head off and claimed self-defense. Come on, we were like, that's ridiculous. Not really, it was the defense, and it worked. He was found not guilty of that one. Eventually the law caught up to him, but like, everyone has a defense. So no matter what a case looks like, what a trial looks like going in, there will be a defense and there'll be something for the jury to consider. It's the way our system works, and it's just the way it happens in every case. So now let's get to this case. Victor Rivera is on trial for double murder. For those of you who don't know the story, Judge Ashley has more for us tonight.
45-year-old mother of two, Patricia Sweat, was shot dead, along with her boyfriend, Matthew Champagne. And investigators say a jealous ex is to blame. 49-year-old Victor Rivera is charged with second-degree murder in their deaths. According to court documents, bystanders in Nashua, New Hampshire, heard gunshots and called 911. Police arrived and found Patricia Sweat and Matthew Champagne lying in a parking lot, bleeding from gunshot wounds to their heads. A witness told police that Sweat had ended a relationship with Rivera 6 months before her fatal shooting, and she had begun a new one with Matthew Champagne. Police say the couple were captured on surveillance video leaving Slade's Food and Spirits. Rivera is seen joining them as they walk toward the parking lot, and then the three begin arguing. Victor allegedly displays a firearm and shoots Patricia, who falls to the ground. Then he is seen walking to Matthew, who he shoots multiple times. Documents reveal this chilling detail. Victor Rivera returns to Patricia, who is still lying on the ground, and shoots her 2 additional times. Rivera was arrested shortly after the shooting and has pleaded not guilty in the murders. He faces up to life in prison if convicted.
All right, now I want to take you to the opening statement of the prosecutor here, laying out the most important piece of evidence, a piece of evidence that may have you scratching your head about, well, what is this trial about? Take a listen.
We zoomed in on that part of the video, and Trish is there. The defendant has his back to the camera, and Matt's between him and the truck. Now you will see Matt turn his back on the defendant and walk towards the door of his truck. Without hesitation, the defendant started shooting. Now you'll see some lights go on the truck as it unlocks, but you'll also see something called muzzle flashes, flashes of light in the video that show when the gun is going off. You will see that the defendant actually shot Trisha first at close range in the face. Then you'll see him shoot Matt 4 times in the back, the shoulder, and twice in the side. And then you will see that after he shot Matt, as Trisha lay motionless on the pavement, he turned back to her, looked down at her, and shot her 2 more times in the neck and in the chest.
A video of the actual murder. That's what prosecutors say they have. Pointing out where everyone is and exactly what happens. I'm gonna roll it for you right now. We're gonna freeze it at the moment of the actual shooting of the gun, but it's clear, you see the 2 victims, you see the defendant in the dark shirt, and this is the moment that he fires the first shot, striking Trisha in the face. She begins to fall, then he turns his gun towards Matt Champagne and fires again, shoots him in the back. Matt falls, he's shot again in the shoulder. And on the ground, Matt is shot in the side. It's all on video. He shoots him again. It's the jury will see it. The jury has seen part of it already. Now Victor turns back towards Trisha and shoots her in the neck. And again in the chest. All of this caught on video, and then the defendant walks away. Now, what did I say at the top of the show? I said, everyone has a defense. So what is the defense here? What are they gonna do? Take a listen to the defense in their opening statement.
Victor Rivera did not have the criminal intent to.
So we've done heard that what his defense is saying, that it was a crime of passion, that pretty much they have seen, you know, in this case that, you know, he states pretty much that they told him that, you know, he told them basically that, you know, the whole time that he was in a relationship with the old girl, she was having an affair with the other dude, and then they gaslit him into believing it wasn't true. And then as soon as they broke up, she got with that same guy. So it kind of like in his mind said they were messing around the whole time. Now, why he waited 6 months after they broke up for this to happen, or maybe they kept their relationship with each other a secret from him for 6 months, I'm not sure, but we'll have to see how this plays out. This is day 1 of the trial, just opening arguments. Hey, Miss LaKendra, now I'm wanting to show this right here. Hold on just a minute. Let me make sure I put up my disclaimer again. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted to copyright statute that might otherwise infringe. We are specifically looking at this because we are looking at this trial. Let me see if I can see if I can find more information on just that. Ta-ta. Trying to make sure that we're going to be able to watch this. Okay, so we're fixing to share this tab instead, and we're going to watch this case in this situation and what happened with the aunt. I want to hear the aunt's testimony and the Naziah Harris case. If y'all want to look it up, it's the Naziah Harris case.
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
And how is it that good afternoon? Could you please state your name for the record?
Tijuana Butts.
And how old are you, Ms. Butts?
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
And how is it that you know him?
He's my brother.
Okay. And how old is Jarvis Butts?
42.
And do you know his birthday?
Yes.
When's his birthday?
November 21st, 1982.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
I saw him walking in.
Okay. And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He has on, I believe it's dark green shirt. He's sitting behind the lady to the side of you.
And Your Honor, with the record reflected when it says identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected. And just to be clear, you said I saw him walking in. You saw him when you were walking in or when he was walking in?
When I was walking in just now.
Thank you.
And Ms. Butts, where did you know Jarvis to work?
He worked at a shop on Warren and F, called Frank's, and then he moved to a shop on Hopper and Connors. I don't know the name of it.
And Ms. Butts, do you remember talking to Detroit police back on February 26, 2024?
Yes.
And what's the reason that you went and talked to Detroit police?
I had reason to believe that I saw Naziah the day she went missing.
Okay. Tell me about that. What makes you believe that you saw Naziah on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this a lot?
So from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Naziah?
At the shop on Harbor and Connors.
Okay, and whose shop is that?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
Okay. What's the reason you were at your brother's shop that day?
Something was wrong with the car that I was driving, and I just needed him to check it out to make sure it was safe for me to drive.
Okay. Do you recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay. And around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So it's a two car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
I believe the Cadillac Escalade.
Okay, do you remember what color?
Kind of like a pearl white, off white cream color.
Okay, and you said you described this as a two garage shop?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to approach with people's Exhibit 7.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Books, do you recognize what is it we're looking at in People's Exhibit 7?
Yeah,
Okay, what is that?
that is the shop
Okay.
right in the middle.
And where at were you parked when you saw someone getting in and out of Jarvis's truck?
In front of the car doors of the garage right here, I was parked facing, I don't know what direction it is, but going towards garage. I was like in front, but outside.
Okay, so you were kind of parked parallel with the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you draw a T where your truck was?
My car?
Yeah, your car was.
Can I?
Yes. And then put an arrow the way you were facing. And where is it where that Jarvis's truck was? Just put a J where Jarvis's truck was. And what way was his truck facing?
It was facing my direction, so the front was
Towards you. Okay, so put an arrow for that direction. Okay. Thank you. Now, do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her, as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any clothing?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
Okay. And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You understand my approach?
Yes.
Handing you what's marked as People's Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay. Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in People's Exhibit 10? Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 10 as Exhibit 10. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you saw that day?
Yes.
I move for the proposed People's Exhibit 10.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 10.
Okay. And in People's 2, is that also, where is the what you recognize as People's Exhibit 2?
It looks like channel 2 here, maybe.
Okay, facing the back?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recognize the jacket in this photo too, right? Yes.
It's a little blurry, but it looks the same.
Okay. And what about in channel 1 of Exhibit 2?
It would be this one right here.
Okay, and it's fair to say that's the back of a jacket? It seems to be the back of a jacket? Okay, thank you. And you said that you saw this little girl with this jacket on getting in and out and going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station, she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So about how far in front of you was she?
I would say maybe where the gentleman in the gray blazer is behind you. Maybe a little bit farther, I'm not really sure about that distance.
From where you are to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, boy, I'm really bad at estimates.
20, 25 feet?
Yeah, I would agree with about 20, 25 feet. And you said you never got a chance to see this little girl's face.
No.
Was there anything else about her that you can remember?
I just remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car. When I was walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
Okay. Tiny, like in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
Okay. And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word or he said it is my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay, but you knew who he was referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think anything of it at the time?
No.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something? Was there a time where you thought something different?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do as a result of receiving those things?
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And who's the Shannon that you called?
His kid's mom.
Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do anything before you go and talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you do?
Okay, so after having a conversation with Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed that his partner King, I guess something happened where the
Objection, this is hearsay.
There's not a statement yet, Judge.
Being informed.
I'm not sure what she's even about to say.
Okay, just to the extent that it's informed of someone else's statement.
You might have to object in a couple moments.
You need to speak up.
If you could stand up
Please.
and make your objection.
Yes, just objecting to the fact that she was informed of something. It appears this might be hearsay, but we'll see.
Yeah. Could you finish what you were saying? I don't know where you're going with this.
I'm trying to remember where I left. Okay, so after talking to Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed of some things that had taken place I think Valentine's Day. So they told me that his partner King.
Okay, so at this point, this is hearsay. They told me in the lack of personal knowledge the things that she was informed of.
Can I finish?
1 second. What is an objection?
I'm
Everybody-
sorry.
The witness
Sorry.
has to stop talking.
So based on those, do you go and talk to someone else?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
His partner King
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop, besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck that day.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
Okay.
And who is King again?
His business partner.
Okay, and do you know his government name?
I believe it's Cordero or something like that. I just always call him King.
Okay. So you went and told him that you hadn't seen anyone out at the shop besides your nieces and then the one little girl you saw that one day.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask him about that little girl?
Well, I didn't ask him about it. After I said that to him, he told me.
Objection, Your Honor, this is going to be hearsay again.
Judge, it's going to go to the effect on the listening.
There could be an exception. I don't know what she's saying. So you might as well just stay standing up. Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
After I mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naziah that I saw that day and I was there.
So I would object then, given now that she has testified to that it is hearsay, that it is being introduced for the truth.
And Judge, I would say that it's actually a statement of identification.
So this is not an identification that she personally made, she's just being told.
When she saw Naziah that day, so it's.
She didn't know who it was. I mean, she had no idea who this was. That's
She
not
didn't know
her
who she was.
identification.
So it is hearsay.
Okay. So without saying what King said, were you informed of anything about a little girl that you saw on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece.
Yes.
Okay. And when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know your nieces from Jarvis? Sorry. That is a poorly worded question. I am sorry. If that was your niece, would you have recognized her that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not recognize this little girl as your niece, did you?
No.
Okay.
Hey, Miss Catherine. So basically, this aunt is testifying. This is the sister to the guy that's accused. She saw the little girl basically get in the car with him. She saw the little girl at the place, but didn't necessarily know her because technically that was his niece from his wife's family, right? So it wasn't one of her nieces that she had by the defendant because she knew all of them, correct? She didn't know Jarvis's niece, which was by his wife's family, which would be the little girl in question. In my opinion, here's the thing. I thought this was the actual wife to him. I can't wait till I hope they call the wife when they do the trial to the stand. I want to hear the wife's testimony because she knew this man had been accused and convicted in 2004 of sexual assault against a child, spent 10 years in prison, got out in 2014. This is Nevaeh, not Nevaeh. Why do I keep wanting to call her Nevaeh? I don't know why I keep wanting to call her Nevaeh. Naziah. Naziah wasn't the only child in the family that he had messed with. So on my closing argument for today's live, because I am going to be very busy today. I want to thank you all for coming in and having a great live together, and thank you all on the replay. We need to end our generational curses. And if you know someone in your family is like that, also, hey, Miss LaKendra, Hood Table, everyone that I missed that came in while I was playing things, please protect your children. If you know they've been convicted of this kind of crime, pay attention. Do not allow your child to be alone with said person. The family literally let him be alone with the children, with these young girls. They would, because he owned an auto shop, I guess that was okay. Now the father, we just learned that the father of Naziah is actually passed away. He passed away recently. So not only did they lose, the daughter, but the stress from all of this. And if I were them, I would file, a unlawful death suit also against him. Because the stress from the situation of him losing his daughter is probably why he lost his life. And this is a sad situation. We're going to watch this as it unfolds. But this situation happens in every culture, every color, every religious belief, all that. We all know about that one or two family members that everybody looks at sideways. Like even the ones that have not been convicted or never been tried or never had proof of them doing something, the one you feel weird about. Don't never let your children, please never let your children be alone with said person. Please protect the children and break these generational curses. Please stop protecting these men and these women who are hurting children. Break the generational curses. If you know something, say something. Don't let it continue. How many children have to be hurt before we actually do something about it, right? So before the end of the stream, that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to stop it here. I am going to share this video we were looking at. So if anybody wants to go back and watch that aunt's testimony, you may do so. I'm going to post it in the comment section below. So I just wanted to say that this is going to be a sad situation as we continue to watch these trials. I will give updates on these trials the further they go in. I like to get them a little ahead of schedule. I like to get them through, and then I like to post the updates because sometimes it could be kind of slow waiting on the updates. So what I like to do is pay attention to the trials as they're unfolding and wait like 3 or 4 days into the trial to start covering it so that we can get information back to back and put it in a single video. Also, good morning, Mr. Austin. Yes, we have to stop these generational curses. Stop things. If you know something, say something. If you see them doing something that you believe is inappropriate, please don't be a silent person and don't go and just turn your nose up at it but not do anything about it. If you know a child is being abused in your family, please say something. Don't allow the abuse to continue, because here's the thing, that child is suffering every day that you don't say something and don't do something. Be the change that is needed. Break these generational curses. Don't allow them continue. Don't allow the abusers, whether it be male or female, to get away with this stuff. Protect our children, because our children are our future. Please stop it before it begins. Even, you know what I'm saying? Well, make sure, I hope you have a good day, Mr. Austin. You're just waking up, and I hope you get you a good list of songs together and everything. Maybe if you share the playlist, tag me in it. I might learn some new music, because I'm kind of stuck in my old school ways and like old school music, and I very rarely listen to the new stuff. I'm just saying, I'm kind of stuck in the old school. I'm old school, okay? But I hope you all having a beautiful, amazing day. Thank you all for being here, tuning in, hitting that like button. Thank anybody who cash apped me for the content, or for just love, just because you wanted to. I like to thank everyone for all the support. Like from people who are just here chilling with me to all the way up to those who financially support me. I want to thank everyone. Every one of you are important. I could not be a content creator without you. Because without our audiences, what are we really doing but talking to ourselves? So I want to thank everybody who watched this live, came to this live, participated in this live, everyone who's watched from the clouds, liked, shared, the replay gang. Every bit of support matters. I want to thank all of you. Those over the months who's hit that super sticker and the Cash App and the memberships. And I am going to plan out a game night for the membership soon. So all my members, be on the lookout for that, please. If you want to hit the Cash App, it's $ Charlie and 87. So if you want to hit it, hit that Cash App. If you don't, you don't have to. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just putting it out there for those who want to. Thank you to everybody who just gives me a click and a view. I thank everyone, you know, all of it. Now, see, here's the thing. I like gangsta music. Mr. Austin, just because I'm white. Just messing with you. I like all kind of music now. You know, I like trap music and everything because, you know, I'm from the South and that's what a lot of our rap is down here. You know, Southern music, Southern rap music, most of it is trap, just to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? You know, but now y'all have a good afternoon. I will see y'all on these streets. Thank you all for being here. And remember to stay blessed, remain vigilant, always keep your head up, always smile. Don't let nobody get you down. Their words don't mean that it ain't what they call you. It's what you answer to. So don't answer to no bullshit. Take care of your mental health. Know you're loved, know you're cared about. And I love you all, my angels. My angels, my angels. Okay. Bye, y'all.
I'm from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood to the day that I go from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my hood, so love I'm gon' show from the TUPELO. I'm ripping my hood to the day that I go.
I'm from the west side, we don't need no introduction. This was the best ride. We all big boy rolling and holding. Come take a test drive. Hilldale, Evergreen, Glenkirk, Adder Street, bending every corner on the west, and that's where I'll be. Sunroof back, Captain C banging down 1800, chunking up the deuce to my post slanging down on 1800. Show no love to the ladies that's training round on 1800, making time stand still. Crystalline swinging down on 1800. Watching out for them knuckleheads that be staying round on 1800. Big rims and low pros be blanging round on 1800. Better completely change the way you're thinking about round 1800. Really hate to see you boys get left slanking round 1800. Out of street got some history, just let Captain C lay it out. If I don't finish it all on this one, let the second verse break it out. Remember the blue apartments from OG standing back there about 60 deep. Blue walking, saw blue a big Anthony using P.
I'm from the TUPELO. I'm reppin' my